about things like Apollo and so forth. And I was wondering if I were using, let's say I use, so React for my view layer, and then I use Apollo for as a client, whatever. What part of, if any, of Meteor would I be needing, or what else would I would want to use? Like what part of something that Meteor normally would provide me that I would lose out on if I were to just have those two? Like would I combine that with Mantra or something, or like to make more of a complete stack?
Yeah, that's the actual question. So this is a very common question because with Apollo, so we have data layer, and with we're using React, so there's no major part in Meteor stack. So I want to emphasize that Mantra is not a platform. It's kind of architecture. So it's not kind of relevant here. It's kind of how we can organize. But I understand your question. Like let's say now there is no reason to use Meteor with Apollo and React. But there's a problem. But if you want to create a good NPM project, there are a lot of ways. There is no starting. There are no common way to do that. There are a lot of dependencies. You need to import them, and then you could use some boilerplates. But if you're trying to go with Meteor, it's very easy. You can easily create. But then again, so there are a lot of time you need to spend on building your app. There are some slow stuff. So then what you can do is you could try to use another boilerplate, which is fine. Or you could use something like Saturn. So that's why I think MDG is working on Saturn. So try to create a kind of starting point for how to create a Apollo and React app.
So I guess what I'm hearing then is in some ways Apollo and some view layer such as React and maybe Saturn, that is sort of almost like Meteor 2.0 in some ways?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
okay.
I think I'd modify that a little bit because there are other parts of the stack that are not covered by just Apollo and React, like the build system. There are other server-side elements that are not covered. So you'd end up needing some kind of server-side framework. You could use Express, for example, in NPM. I mean, I think that like Meteor right now, and I think it's MDG's intention to keep it this way. Meteor is kind of the happy path for doing that. It's just a really easy way to get started. That's what I would default to. Just start with Meteor, and if you find that it's limiting you or you're not using it and you don't want it, then get rid of it and use like Express or something like that. But Meteor is a great place to start. What Apollo is doing is it's sort of the replacement for live data. So live data is the connection to Mongo that gives you reactive queries to the database. And that was one of the really, really magical things about Meteor, in a good way, when it first came out. So a couple of the things about live data is that it's tied to Mongo's API. So you're using collection.find and collection.find1. It's very Mongo-centric. Like Meteor always wanted to expand that to include SQL databases, other outside data sources, but it was pretty difficult to do within the context of how live data was done because it was so tied to Mongo. So Apollo, I think, is MDG's attempt to take one of probably its single top core strength, which is the data layer, and to expand that to cover other databases. Also to use GraphQL, which is a pretty exciting new query technology. And then you'll eventually be able to have reactivity in it. But instead of starting with reactivity and letting the other features kind of trickle in, they're starting with a core functionality that covers hopefully all possible databases, like once all the drivers are written and all that, and that will eventually have optional reactivity so that you have like more control and are able to scale better. So if you use Meteor as your stack, you might just start out using live data because it's the easiest way to get started. And then and people have been talking about like if you have an application that either doesn't need reactivity or reactivity causes you to not scale, then I think it would be MDG's intention that you would like probably swap out Apollo for live data within Meteor, and that should work. I think it'll be designed to like happen pretty naturally to be as easy a process as possible.
Very helpful, thanks.
I also think like